Mahalo everyone, and welcome to another deck video here on the Jolly Scarecrows channel. Today I'm presenting another deck from our celebration of Egyptian independence from the UK. It's 100 years on the 28th of February 2022, and because of Yu-Gi-Oh's strong ties to Egypt and ancient Egyptian artifacts, culture, and whatever, we thought we'd make a few decks to kind of celebrate that connection. And one of the most infamous ones, at least from the early stages of the trading card game, was Spirit of the Pharaoh, in just how unusable it was as a boss monster. This was one of the ultra rare cards from Ancient Sanctuary, which was the set that followed the infamous Invasion of Chaos, which had Chaos Emperor Dragon, Blackluster Soldier. It had so much potential in it that Ancient Sanctuary had very little, and one of its main cards was this, the Spirit of the Pharaoh, which can only be summoned by playing three sarcophagi and removing them from the field, and then its bonus special effect is letting you special summon up to 4 level 2 or lower normal zombie monsters from the graveyard. It's really garbage. It always has been. So the question was how to best utilize this card. Could we make a strong meme deck? And we've gone through various iterations of this. Our first one involved using kind of zombie world. Obviously, that turns all of your monsters into zombies. So you could use any kind of deck really if you had a lot of zombie world, necro world, banshee, and stuff like that. We looked at using chem critters. We looked at using Geminis because they'd count as normals. So you'd have, instead of being whatever they are, like crabs, which will affect monsters, you're using Geminis, you're converting them to zombies, and you're using Spirits of the Pharaoh to revive them. In the end, we decided on this build because you can regularly ritual summon and use things like Advanced Ritual Art to dump your zombies at the grave, things like Pharaoh's Servant and Pharaonic Protector, and then eventually down the line, once you've been able to accumulate your sarcophagi, you can then bring them back and whatever, link summon, XE summon with them. This is very much a kind of meme deck, utilizing as many overpowered cards as possible. I'm sure you'll have seen a sprinkling of them already. In terms of how the deck works, very much operates like a traditional zombie deck. So you've got your 3 copies of Unizombie, 3 copies of Solitaire. To get the Unizombie, if you haven't got it already, you're going to be wanting to get rid of Mizukis and things like that, so that you can then special summon zombies from the graveyard, so that you can kind of make whatever XEs plays, Synchro Summon plays, things like that. I think quite often you're wanting to go for a simple get 2 monsters, play Hulk, get Despoto 1, get Mecha Phantom Beast, summon all your tokens, and go from there. Obviously, as it's a ritual deck, you can use Herald of Arclight, search for whatever kind of ritual spell, ritual trap you want. And that's why we're running a combination. We're running mostly megaliths as our rituals, but also the Revenge Red, Slayer, and Executor. But mainly we'll be using these megaliths, and for those of you that haven't used megaliths before, basically they have this kind of main phase effect where you can ritual summon without a ritual spell card. You just need to tribute monsters. So you can turn your Haggith into an Orpheal, and when it's summoned, you can add a megalith card from your deck to your hand. So you can basically cycle through these by way of thinning your deck, searching for the kind of required megaliths that you want, making more ritual summon plays, and eventually you can go into things like Aratron, which lets you negate any kind of targeting effects by putting a ritual monster back on the bottom of your deck, which is pretty nice. What it can also let you do, depending on, so say you've got an advanced ritual art in your hand, you can search for the Aratron, it's 8 stars, then you can use it and get rid of all 4 of your normals from the deck. And that way you're set up to use Spirit of the Pharaoh. We're running a little bit of kind of the fairy ritual engine, which you'll have seen from kind of Drytron and things like that. You know, you can use Diviner of the Herald to send Herald of the Arclight as well to keep the searching up. And if you happen to use this as part of your ritual summon, you get to special summon a fairy, and you're either obviously wanting to go for this Reptile Revival because it lets you special summon itself from the graveyard, so it's another little extender, or get that Cyber Egg Angel, which lets you add Ritual Sanctuary. Ritual Sanctuary is just fantastic in terms of, you know, discarding a spell to let you add a light ritual monster, or any spell card. So that's your main way, I think, of getting to your 2 copies of Advanced Ritual Art. You can get to, actually no, you can't get to Orpheal. I think you can get to Orpheal, no, the megaliths are mostly Earth. So yeah, that's your main play. I think you just pretty much always go to Advanced Ritual Art. You can't even get to Megalith Unformed because it's a quick play spell, but it is quite nice that sometimes you can, you know, ritual summon on your opponent's turn and make kind of more defensive plays from there. Reverend Dread Origin is the ritual spell we're using for them because it allows you to use your zombies in your graveyard. The other one specifically relies on having other Reverend Dread monsters. We're only using Slayer and Executor in this. And again, Slayer's effect lets you search for the advanced ritual art, and well, yeah, you mainly use Executor by way of using your advanced ritual art up and getting rid of monsters from your deck. We haven't mentioned, obviously, other extenders, Plague Spreader Zombie, O-Lion, kind of part and parcel with your Borodon plays. And because we're running the megaliths, we can use the amazing block monster that is Block Dragon, preventing your monsters being destroyed by any means that isn't battle. And you can use that to kind of stall for time. And one of the things you might want to be stalling for is this rogue tech, the Despair Uranus, which you control no spells or traps, which, depending on your game state, you do sometimes have access to those, but you cannot. And it lets your opponent declare continuous spell or continuous trap, and often because you've been running maybe zombies, they are much more expecting you to be playing things like Curse a Land. You know, they're used to seeing some of these continuous spells, especially if they've seen you play Eldly already. So they can often pick continuous trap, though it is interesting to have them make the choice. And that is your main rogue search for the first sarcophagus. There is another way of searching it, which has escaped my mind. It was in our previous iterations of this deck, but we actually thought this was enough because there's this whole bunch of searching involved in this deck, and you're getting rid of monsters all the time. You fill your deck very quickly, and so actually, even though we're running 50 cards, you can see the first sarcophagus quite often. I haven't even got into using the sarcophagi and why they're such a pain. So basically, you have to wait for the end of your opponent's end phase, and that lets you play a copy of second sarcophagus from your deck, and then you can play the third sarcophagus. If you look at the wording for this, you can tell it's an old card. And if at any point your sarcophagi are destroyed, then all of them are destroyed, so you can't go back. So there's no point running any more than really one of each of the second or third. There's the third, there's the second. So if you can survive 2 turns, which you're more able to do with the Despair Uranus, because face-up cards in your spell and trap card zone can't be destroyed when this is on the field, and it's a rock. So if you then also happen to have Block Dragon special summoned, then your opponent's going to need a monster with greater than 3,000 attack to get over it. Which is yeah, it's a pretty neat little thing, especially if you're able to put this together in the lower ranks of Master Duel. We haven't quite been able to get there yet because it's quite an expensive deck, especially when you take into account the uh, extra deck, which we'll get into in a second. Yeah, once you're able to collect these three together, first, second, and third, you can summon out the Spirit of the Pharaoh and then boop, revive as many of these as you can. And often it is the annoying case where you're so dominant, if you ever get this effect off, that actually you've got monsters on the field, so maybe this will revive one or two of these, and then it's not really worth it, is it? You can go into some interesting plays. So Manipulator of Souls requires 3 Dark level 2 monsters and has this neat little life point gain effect. So when you gain life points, you can give it an equal amount of attack. And that comes into itself with a combo with Beelzus of the Devouring Dragons, which you can play quite easily with your Oridon combo if you got if you do your tokens right. And this means that you can gain life points equal to any attack of your opponent's monster. So you can go boop, gain attack, boop, stick it on the Manipulator of Souls, and inflict damage to your opponent equal to that attack. And it's not meta, and most of the time you won't pay it off. But when it does, it just feels really nice to be able to take kind of full advantage of these niche cards through the use of an even more mean card in Spirit of the Pharaoh. The rest of the extra deck then. Mannequin Cat, obviously a good card for being able to, I guess, special summon your own monsters. We know we're running quite a few different targets which your opponent could do similar things to. Obviously running fairies, machines, zombies, etc. etc. Gallant Grenad's in here. Obviously, sometimes you might be in a situation where you've got Solitaire and Mizuki face up, you want to get rid of them. So you fling them off, send the Mizuki to the grave, and that'll let you search for your block dragon. And then once you've gone through some of your megaliths, you should easily have enough rocks in the grave to be able to special summon them. Dingrisu, you'll often be in a position to play this, maybe from the accumulation of tokens, maybe from obviously block dragon out a lot. Spare Uranus is also a level 8. We're running, Herald of the Arclight is your main synchro, but obviously, depending on your situation, you'll be there with Olean and a bunch of Mech Phantom Beast tokens. So you can go into Omega if that's what your situation prefers, the Ravenous Crocodron if you need to draw, and if you've got, I don't know, Mizuki stuck in your hands that you need to get rid of, or whatever it is, maybe this emitter. Sometimes it's good to get rid of those, destroy a card, and then use their effects. The Beelzus we've already mentioned, and I didn't even mention that it can't be destroyed by battle card effects. So yeah, 4000 beta can't be destroyed by battle card effects. You're doing pretty well if you've got this out. And yes, the two fusions, we're running one copy of Future Fusion and I believe one copy of the Seven Cities of the Golden Land. So with the one copy of Eldritch in here, you can either summon out the Mad Golden Lord fairly simply with either of these two cards, or depending on the situation, you can maybe Future Fusion into this. Obviously, I like doing that sometimes. You get into Future Fusion, and you can even send Eldritch to the graveyard, obviously, as part of the Nether Soul fusion. And sometimes I've been known to do that and send to Mizuki, so then you can get rid of Mizuki, bring back the Golden Lord, if you so wish. Right, I really hope we're able to get gameplay for this. We've obviously got a lot of kind of gameplay videos in the pipeline, and this is, as you can see, quite an expensive deck to put together. But if we are able to get you some footage of this thing in action, summoning the Spirit of the Pharaoh, we shall do that. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed our Egyptian series. Stay tuned for more theme decks coming out on the channel in the not too distant future.